And now we're back with Detective Kim Bogucki of the Seattle Police Department. And now we're going to talk about the Tithe One On program, T10.
Thank you.
So what inspired you to first start this project?
I think the IF project that we were talking about earlier, one of the things that kept coming up when I was working with the inmates as well as the youth that we're speaking to is that a lot of them felt like that they didn't have somebody that was positive in their life, or they weren't getting a lot of positive affirmation, or maybe people weren't kind to them. So I was like, well, what is it going to take to get people to kind of like start being nicer to each other, as simple as that is. I think we talk a lot about anti-bullying, and sometimes when I hear that, I kind of pull back a little bit because there's a negativity to it, but is there a way to actually acknowledge when people are actually being kind? And so that's kind of how this was birthed. How do we acknowledge somebody being kind? Because everybody's kind of stuck in their cell phones and on computers, and they aren't really looking up around them to see who's being nice to each other, like, you know, somebody buying that random cup of coffee for the person behind them. You know, how can we maybe acknowledge that so we kind of create a culture of kindness and get people to continue being nice to each other?
So do you want to talk a little bit about how that project actually works?
Well, what it works is it's really, really brand new. It only started like 2 months ago. And Brandy Carlisle, who's a Sony Columbia recording artist and does music tours, her foundation decided to launch it for us, which was great. They built the website and gave us the product and stuff like that and put all the literature together. And what we decided to do is give a little code out that when you get a bracelet, you get a code. So you log into titheoneon.org, you put your code in, and whoever gave you that bracelet has previously logged in and written what you did. And what your name comes up on is the grid. So our thing is like, let's get on the grid. And we have over, I think, 300 people on the grid today. So like, you all have your bracelets on, right? Let me see him, let me see him. So I know that you did something kind. Somebody acknowledged that. And so they went online and put it in your name and what you did. And then you got to go online and see what you did and put your face up and stuff like that. That's kind of how it works.
All right. Were there any roadblocks in establishing T10?
Not at this point, actually. There haven't been any roadblocks. We've gotten nothing but really, you know, really positive feedback, not just from the school here, because it's the first school that it started in, but also just adults saying, that's really cool to actually have something to give out when we see people being kind to each other.
What's the significance of the green bracelet that you give out? Is there a certain reason the color is green or it's string?
Well, yeah, I think I started with green. I didn't really know what color to do, but for me, green is like new, renewal, growth. I don't know, it's one of those colors that just makes me feel good. It's like, how do you grow something that's kind? So it's like plants are green. Well, I want to grow kindness. I know that might sound corny, but that's kind of why I came up with it. And I chose to do string as opposed to a lot of the rubber, you know, bracelets, because I see a lot of rubber bracelets around, and sometimes I don't even look at what they mean anymore because everybody's doing rubber bracelets. And the thing about string is it's different, and you actually have to tie it on. And it's called Tithe One On, and there is no religious affiliation to it, even though tithe can be attached to religious affiliation. But there's actually an old English translation of community helping community. So how do you build community, I think, is by kindness. So I kind of did a little play on words, and I like that you actually have to tie it on somebody's wrist. The other thing is about the green and using string is somebody actually has to have contact with you. It's not a virtual tie on a cell phone or something. They have to come up and say, hey, you know what, I saw you do this, and I want to tie this on you. You know, so there's that human interaction that I think sometimes we've lost because of technology.
So do you have like, what's the end goal of the project?
Oh, the end goal of the project, I'd like to see a green bracelet on everybody, all over the world. But I think the end goal of the project would be, you know, we take donations. When people donate money, they get bracelets. And with the money that we get from the donations, we actually are going to start giving out grants or scholarships or what have you to persons that are under 26 years old that come up with really cool projects to make the world a kinder place. So I would like to raise a lot of money. So everybody, that means that there's a lot of green bracelets out there, and I'd like to raise money and be able to fund projects that people are coming up with to make this world a better place.
All right.
Are you proud that our school is the one school in the nation that is using the T10 program?
I'm absolutely proud. I would not have gotten on a plane all the way from Seattle, Washington to come visit you guys and personally thank you for starting the Tithe One On in the school. And I'm really looking forward to working with the students here to figure out how to make this program expand and that you guys get to take some ownership in what I think is creating a really cool culture of kindness. So congratulations and thank you.
Thank you. How many people are on the grid, and does it grow constantly?
I think I was going to check this morning because I thought you might ask me that question. I think we're about at 300, and I actually usually get on before I go to bed. I pull it up and see what people have done. So people are, daily. Sometimes we'll get 2 or 3. Sometimes we'll get 5. Sometimes we won't get any. It just depends on who's gone on. I think the thing for me too is. In a world where we sometimes turn the TV on or things are negative or we're around that, before I go to bed at night, I love to open it up and see the entire grid is nothing but kind things that were done. So it always makes me feel really good.
How effective would you think that T10 has been?
I think anything that makes you feel good is effective, and anything that's positive is effective. So I don't know if I can say how effective it is. How did you feel when you got the bracelet?
With me, I felt like I was happy just to be a person that was recognized for being kind, not just as a person that's just a nobody, that you're recognized for being kind to somebody, just not being known for that.
Right, what about you? Because that's going to be the effect that that you can answer that question.
Well, I mean, it's a special thing to have a green bracelet that is recognized nationally across the country. I think it's really cool how you can comment on the grid, like people can look at what you've done and like it, which is pretty cool.
Right. I got my first green bracelet 2 days ago. I think someone forgot about me or something, I don't know. But it was really cool to actually get, acknowledged. I'm like, I wonder what they're going to say, so yeah, it was cool.
But how did they forget about you and you're the one that started it? That's the worst thing in the world. Like, you're the one that started this. You're the one that did 2 nonprofit organizations out of the kindness of your heart. You were selfless. You didn't think you did something out of the kindness of your heart that could change the world, change other people's minds, and be effective to kids and people.
I think for me, when I walked in here and I saw the bracelets and I saw all the stickers in Miss 100 Mark's office of all the ones she'd given out, that means more to me, honestly, than a green bracelet, because that means it's growing. And like hearing what you guys are saying about how it's affected you, it makes me feel good that that's happening. So that's worth all the green bracelets in the world for me.
How has T10 changed your life?
I think with being a police officer for as long as I've been a police officer, we see a lot of, we see people at their worst. We don't get called when someone's having a barbecue, or when we're called there, something's gone wrong, and it's not always positive, and we don't always have time to stop and maybe be there as much as we'd want to from our hearts. We got to go to the next call because that's our job, is to take care of those things. And I think with the IF project, those stories like we talked about earlier, they're really emotional. Like, it was a lot of pain that people were sharing and willingly sharing. So I think for T10 for me is, turning things into a positive. And it, like I said, it makes me feel good when I go in the grid. And so how can I plant little positive seeds everywhere? And you guys are planting positive seeds everywhere. So that helps, the job that I've done for 25 years transfer into something that I can feel really good about and positive about.
Do you think that some cops have negativity towards people that are kind towards people and people that are not?
Oh, negativity towards kind people?
Because some people don't feel like the reflection of, since they're not getting recognized for it, do they try to manipulate or push down that person because they did something that was good and they didn't because they want to make fun of them?
I can only speak for myself, and I've been around police officers for a long time. I don't think we're negative towards people that are kind. I think that sometimes we might come across as being upset with people that aren't kind, but I also think when you see that day in and day out, it gets to the point where it does hurt you sometimes. Like, every day you're just seeing the bad stuff, like I said. So I think when we actually see people being kind, it's like, that still exists out there. Thank goodness, because an 8-hour day, you don't get to see a lot of that when you're running from call to call. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I think we actually appreciate stuff when people are nice, or they say hello to us as opposed to other things that they might say to us that aren't so nice.
All right. Well, thank you for talking with us today, Kim. We have to end now. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.